Plant is the only character in the game that beats Sonic. We're doing some hot takes today. Reading the bravest Smash takes 2025. Okay. The other day, I asked everyone to give me their bravest 2025 Smash take. The prompt was, give me your bravest 2025 Smash take. Mine is that if Spargo had gone all Plant at Kagaribi, unless he was facing Steve, he would have gotten top 8 or even 1. And the reason I say this is because Ultimate's meta revolves around perfect gimps or bleed out camping, and Spargo has shown, in the right hands of course, that Plant is somehow able to mitigate both of these things. My boy Michael Kelly said, you know you can't matchup check Japanese players, right? Which I think, yeah, sure. Because of Smash Mate, they probably have, you know, more experience on various matchups. But I think Spargo, the way he plays Plant, like there's already been good Plant players in the world, but I've never seen like a bottom tier, or I guess a low tier. I don't even know what tier this character is. I've never seen a character that's been considered so bad, suddenly, without almost any problem, fits so well into the hands of one of the premier players of the era. Spargo then responded, which I appreciate, and Spargo said, unfortunately, Plant can't get past Kazuya either. Also, in the reply, the quotes are the best part. I'll go for the replies first. We had Ringul as well, who balled out yesterday. Link is the best Link. People are just afraid to admit their dog shit with him, and he's incredibly hard. I know what else is incredibly hard. Okay, where am I going with that? Hold on. Just scratch that, editors. I think the only way to save Melee is by gambling a lot. You know what? I want to see it. If you want my if this is an ironic take, I do think that sports betting does have a place in esports. I just wish it was done responsibly and professionally, which probably never will happen. If Light beats Spargo's Plant, then Spargo wouldn't have tried it again. This take isn't brave though. I agree, that's not a brave take. I think once you have a proof of in the pudding, you're fine. Cool Melee is over and the era of optimized cheesing has begun. Oh, you sweet summer child. Who wants to tell him that in every single fighting game, optimized cheesing is exactly where every meta goes after a year, after 6 months, after maybe a year? There's always gonna be that one player, not one, but like that small group of top players that play with like full heart, and it makes things entertaining and good. But the vast majority, like 80% of what's considered top players, are just gonna optimize their stuff. Sometimes though, if the game is very well designed, the cool shit is the best shit. Toon Link is top 4 sword character in the game. I mean, this is Toon Link better than Corrin to take. I would say top 5. I would say top 5. Ganon has a top 10 up smash. Sure. Fuck it. That's fine. Spargo is the second greatest of all time. If MKLeo didn't exist, would Spargo be the GOAT? It's definitely between Aquila and Spargo. I think TO should raise prices and start taking a cut from the pot towards things like stream setups, play setups. I always think they should take out some for themselves. I know this can be a can of worms open for embezzlement, but it's worth the risk. Honestly, your local TO is probably doing one of the most thankless jobs ever seen. Major TOs and ultimate TOs, it's a different level of obviously funding and things what it is. When it comes to local TOs, I'm all for this. Marth should be at least top 25 by now. People just don't know how to space. Marth sucks. Plant is better than Marth. How about that? Spargo's recent unleash of Plant on Comp Smash is proof that all this official tier list stuff ain't true. There's players out there who have completely mastered a character, even the low tiers. Again, Ultimate is by far the most balanced iteration of Smash, and the longer the game exists, the longer we don't get a Smash 6. You know, when characters that were considered not very good in Melee started having good results, like DK, we made a joke and called them DLC because, like, until then everyone's like, what are these characters doing? But right now, Ultimate is getting their second wave of DLC. They're getting their own DLC after their DLC because of characters and players like Spargo playing Plant. All of this because we didn't ban Bayo in Smash 4. The degradation of the game can be traced back to that one decision. It became the reason we never changed or fixed anything else, and just watch Smash die. I made a video essay about Bayonetta, and I think we will never for certain know what would have happened to Smash 4 had Ultimate not come out. We'll never know for a fact if Smash 4 Bayo would have gotten the Steve treatment where it's like some regions ban the character, some regions don't. It's one of those like split timelines we'll never know. But I think Smash 4 Bayo is, from what I think, I believe Smash 4 Bayo was worse than Steve as a character. If Chunky Kong beat Light at Collision 2024, he would have top-8'd Collision. His path was Zero, Suit Samus, and Roy. 2 matchups he is extremely favored in. He hadn't fought Light in almost 2 years, and it was Game 5 last talk. He did prove doable by throwing Light at Momocon. Basically, that Chunky Kong could have won a major this year. I mean, I don't think it's even that hard of a take. I think Chunky is at the point where, just like Beast Mode Paul, he could have won. And shoutouts to Can of Games. Plant is the only character in the game that beats Sonic. Zog. Almost every current tier list is wildly wrong, and it's purely because travel is harder for some people than others. The amount of hidden bosses in the world is nuts. This community has this every character is low, mid-tier, until proven otherwise mentality, which exacerbates it. Just a few examples off the top of my head. Tuning Castle would be top reps of their character anywhere else. People don't understand that they're that good with extremely few resources, fewer locals, and less online. I legitimately think if they spent 12 months, let's say they had a chance to spend 12 months in I don't know, SoCal or some region with a lot of locals, and they just grind it every single day, I do believe Toon would win an NA major this year. Even outside there, I played friendly with Zozef from Saudi Arabia at Gommel, coming top 32 at a super major at 16 years old with a character like Roy. Wait, there was a 16-year-old Roy from Saudi Arabia that made top 32 at Gommel? You really never know like what you're gonna get. If you don't attend offline events in some capacity, you are not a part of the competitive Smash community. Won't speak for Melee, but if all you do for ult is play Wi-Fi events, Elite, sit on Twitter or Discord, and never actually go to a local, you're not a community member. This one is interesting. Does it mean if you live in like remote Alaska, you're not part of the community? I don't know about this one. I think that if you live in a region that has locals near you and you have the ability to go to them and you never go to one ever, like you've never ever even at least tried a little bit, yeah, it's kind of a concerning look on your part if you're able to at least once. Maybe you're not a social person and maybe it is what it is. If you just don't have the means or the region to do so, I think that's actually pretty different. It really, to me, depends on the effort. If you're making an effort to be part of the community, you're part of the community. If you're, like I said, being part of communities is a privilege, and I think if you're making the effort to be a good member of said community, you're part of it. Watching someone who never went to a local say popping off at a local is cringe may be the most enraged I've ever been. It's insane how blatantly obvious regions will hard rig the regions to make upsets. That a lot of runs by players when they are in a big event in a region feel fraudulent, doesn't actually reflect their skill at all if they always get their best matchups. So are they saying local TOs will... I'm trying to understand what this means. Is he saying when oh, he'll see. Every time Light goes out of region, he somehow fights a Luigi or from whatever region he's going to. Every time Lima goes out of region, he fights Hero or Snake. Every time Leo goes out of region, he fights the local Steve player. This one I think is just every region has a Steve. It's so obvious and just actually ruins the integrity of the game. So he's saying regional TOs, when there's an out-of-state player or out-of-region player going to the region, they'll rig the bracket to make their best player of their bad matchup play against them for hype. I'm not saying this doesn't happen. I'm also not saying that the Gommel bracket this year might have been tweaked a little bit because they thought the people wanted to see a Puff Ditto again. A certain rematch from last year. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm not saying it always happens either. It's sometimes tricky to delineate whether or not something is just a coincidence of seeding or something is actually like a, hey, we're gonna always do it. And to be honest, I'll admit I don't keep track too often of regional brackets and how that goes. So this might be true. What I am saying is, if you are a TO and you have the option to make a fair bracket, if Light is you know, seed 1 for a tournament, he's gonna fight seed 8, he's gonna fight seed 16, he's gonna fight seed 4 or 5, and he's gonna fight seed 2, usually in a bracket. If one of those bad matchups happens to be there, and the person is around seed to that caliber, I mean, yeah, you can do it too. But if it becomes a recurring thing forever and always, then yeah, that's a problem, and there should be more, you know, fairness and randomization, at least for the variety of brackets. Shouldn't be a hot take, but if you put your eyes on the screen instead of stats hyperwatching, Spargo is so unbelievably, insanely far and away the best ultimate player, both currently and of all time. This take is fun, because there's always going to be that little bit of... people will always argue results versus pure skill, right? I think the closest... What's the closest thing that Melee has to a Spargo is... it's like, weirdly enough, it feels like Plup sometimes, because like at his peak core, I think everyone knows like Plup is like just when he was on, right? When he was super on. Zane? No. Zane is in contention for the best in the world. Spargo right now isn't in contention. Spargo is like, he's like top 5, top 10. I mean, the year wasn't great to him, right? But it's like, think of a player, maybe not Plup, but think of a player that like, you know, when they lock in, and you know any game you give to them, they have a gigantic chance of being the best just because of fucking raw skill. Who has the absolute best raw skill in the scene, but is hampered by the meta? And this is why Spargo here as an option is interesting, especially doing it with Cloud. I think him getting rank 1 with basically mainly Cloud is absolutely one of the most impressive feats in fighting game history. With so many other just nightmare characters in this game, doing it with Cloud is I think pretty incredible. This is the most competitive ranked season we've had, and the skill gap between the top 30 to 40 is not big in the slightest. This also means that bracket luck has and is going to play a big factor in this and upcoming seasons. I'll say this, bracket luck is going to matter a bunch if you're not the absolute best. I've always said, if you care just about being the best player in the world does not concern themselves with their bracket. That is something that I do believe. We, as top players, of course, we all have matchups that we're more favorable in. We all have opponents that we have a higher chance of beating. But if you are going to be the absolute best, you should be able to beat any other person in that room at Super Smash Brothers, even your demons. And I think because Ultimate is this volatile, it makes great things for spectators. But this goes along with what Pharaoh said about bracket manipulation. TOs need to be definitely very, very careful with how they see to make sure it's as fair as possible. Sometimes I start digging in okay. Need all my TOs to ban this guy. Where's he from? Every single player should play a whack-ass low tier and a god character. Whack-ass low mid tiers are some of the most fun characters in the game. Do I play a whack-ass low mid tier? Oh, I play Puff. Shit, you're right. I took the first stock off of Spargo in a double set at BOBC in pools, and by that logic, I was the best player in the world of 42 seconds. Yeah, but have you ever beaten Spargo in a tournament? Hero is easily top 10 in the game and pushing top 5, and nobody talks about it. Skylar drums, you're not getting that follow back. I'm sorry. It's probably the craziest take so far I've seen. Glazing top players will always be cringe. Let people enjoy things, man. Wii Fit Trainer is a top 5 character in the game, held back by a weaker player base on average due to the character's strange learning curve. Genuinely don't understand how a character designed like that exists and isn't talked about anymore. If a character is held back by its strange learning curve, that means the character is probably not that broken. I think right here, what if we can have, what do I call it? The Spargo theory. If Spargo no-lifes a character the way he did with Plant, does he win a big turn with that character? If instead of Spargo ever playing Plant, it happened to be a Wii Fit Trainer, would he have destroyed 3-0 Sonics with Wii Fit Trainer? I also need you guys to know that a top player, you know how like the wand picks the wizard, whatever that phrase is. Like, the character picks the player in a lot of things for these games. You need to just sync with that character. You need to have fun with that character. It has to make complete sense to you. Like, yeah, I had one video game where I loved one character and I became the best in the world at it. Does that mean if you lock me in a room with a copy of Smash 4 or Ultimate and you tell me to be the best Bayo in the world by locking myself in a room playing only Bayonetta for the next 2 years and then coming out of it as a monster, that would happen? Of course it would. I'm broken. People need to care about results way more in this game. It doesn't matter who is behind the character or if their bracket path is lucky. If they can do it once, it can be done again. Can't just go up on a character because they aren't seen often. Well, it's not just the tournament results, it's probably just them getting destroyed online or destroyed in practice by the character they choose, and then they realize, like, oh, I can just play a DLC or Broken Top tier and do a lot better. That's usually what dissuades players from using a certain character. Rankings do more harm than good. Wow, hold on. Region PRs, state PRs, not Lumi rank. I see people making getting ranked a goal and get discouraged, as it's a very toxic goal because of how volatile and personally biased PR panels can be. This seems like a very specific issue. Like, I'm sure it exists in certain things. If you have an algorithmic way of making a PR in locals, granted, it's much. Ranking locals is definitely a weird thing. I used to do it for Central Florida for Melee. It's definitely a weird thing, but it's not like the end of the world, like, difficult thing. Players themselves cared too much about the rankings. I mean, I cared about being rank 1. It was my goal, and it was a great thing to have. I don't think it's an unhealthy thing to have. Kazuya is not a beginner-friendly character. He is one of, if not the hardest character to learn, let alone to get good with. You know what? I'm kind of with Salt King here, because I tried playing Kazuya. I tried just landing a single perfect electric. I mean, also granted, I'm not a traditional fighting game player, so it was a lot harder for me. He is definitely one of the hardest characters. That might be the reason why Kazuya justified making him the way that he was. Is it even a hot take? I mean, people, you know, they think they can just pick it up. Shit, I think stuff with Steve is pretty hard. But the top level Steve stuff, it still has some pretty technical shit that you gotta do. And combos and awareness of routes you gotta do. Would have been cool if VGBC, BTS, and Panda had put their egos aside and actually worked towards building some form of global circuit with Nintendo's blessing. Instead, we lost out on the greatest thing going for a Kirby, and we have been struggling to recover ever since. That was a cold take. The entire concept of a tier list is irrelevant, and while certain characters have advantages, there's no such thing as a character that can't unless humans aren't the ones playing. But it is humans that are playing, right? The human condition has to be taken into account here. I would love to see a theoretical maxed out tier list in that case. We're in year 7 of this game and year 4 since last balance patch. If you don't hate this game, or else you would have moved on by now. The game doesn't suck, or it wouldn't be booming as it is still. The game is flawed, but games don't last as long without support if they're ass. I agree with this. This is inherently not a bad game. I'll call it a bad game, like, out of rage, but it's got its issues, but people are still playing it in droves. Like, you know what could have happened? We could have had, like, a Mortal Kombat 1 situation. You know, that was the flagship new title for the Mortal Kombat series. And it's just, their own player base just hates the game so much. The Lumi rank of an event should be decided by a more equal weighing of total attendees and top level talent to dissuade events from pouring money into a few big players instead of benefits to all tournament goers. Top level talent needs to matter, but it's gotten really egregious. The reason I don't agree with this, is because you could just get like 300 middle schoolers to enter a bracket, and if you weigh it just based on raw attendance number and not actually the ranking, you suddenly have the most Mickey Mouse major imaginable. Also, it's just every single time you have a ranked player, it adds to the potential difficulty and impressiveness of a major win. So I do not agree with this take. I think the way Lunatic is doing it right now is as good as they could be doing in terms of an algorithmic ranking, and one that for the most part seems to work, especially in a world that's, you know, divided by the various regions. I think we need to weigh people who go to over 100 events less. Yes, you finally hit the goal, getting ranked top 8, in a major, beating a top 50 player is impressive. But when you spend every weekend and thousands of dollars traveling, it's a bit soured in my eyes compared to others. This one, I will say this, like, yeah, if you are, you know, have a better, especially if you're a young player, and I don't know, let's say just your family has more money to give to you to go to tournaments or whatever, or maybe you have a better job and you're able to go to more tournaments than another person, and you want to go to tournaments, I think it's something for doing it. And if you happen to pop off one of these majors, like, it's impressive. It shows you have the potential of doing so. If you don't have the ability to go to a bunch of majors, maybe only 1 or 2 a year, there still is ways for you to practice and to grind and to show how good you are in a certain game. But the rankings are gonna highlight the players that do well and highlight their peaks at events. You know, I don't necessarily think we should punish players for deciding to go to many events. It doesn't seem right to me. Steve wouldn't even be top 2, maybe 3 in every other Smash game. And just so happened to be the most overturned in the Smash game with the most balanced top tier overall in the series, where he still loses bracket to a lot of other characters, regardless of matchup dominance. I'm just imagining Steve in Smash 64 right now. GG. 1 up tilt. Oh, I would actually pay money to see that. Smash 6 will not replace Ultimate. This one's crazy. At best, initial hype will have it over Ultimate for a while, but unless the game truly is peak Smash Bros. In almost every way, I genuinely cannot see Ultimate dying. Even with a top tier meta many people dislike, it's just too high bar to pass. It's just a high bar to pass IMO. If it's even remotely similar to Smash 4 or Brawl, Ultimate will be dead upon release day. Upon release day, it will be dead. The only way, Alibaba has a point here, the only way is if Smash goes mobile, some touchscreen AI bullshit, or is completely different from the formula. If Smash 6 just offers new things, but it's still good Smash Bros, everyone's gonna jump in a abandoned ship and do it. There's only one way this happens, and it's if Smash 6 is abysmal. And the only time it's really happened was Melee to Brawl. Because Brawl was just way too different from Melee. But then, a lot of the Brawl heads, or all the Brawl heads, loved Brawl, and they kept playing Brawl. And then Smash 4 was Brawl Part 2, but fucking really weird. And then the Ultimate was polished Smash 4. So yeah, there was continuity there. It's like, how many pro Street Fighter players are playing Street Fighter 5? None. How many players are playing Street Fighter 4? Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 are extremely small, if not dead at this point, because 6 exists. Because going from 4 to 5 and 5 to 6 was far less jarring than going from Melee to Brawl. And you know I'm right. The reason Melee exists is because Melee never had a Melee 2. Me Sword is the anti-meta that can save Ultimate. He checks Steve, Snake, Bayonetta, Luigi, Kazuya, and Game & Watch. Holy fucking shit. Alright, I think that's the last one. I don't even want to dive into that one. Because these are ancient texts that I can't decipher. This is amazing. I need a Me Sword Fighter to win everything now. Anyway, say bye YouTube. Alright, let's play the tournament.